Hey, it's Tony here. I'm going to show you the new waveSharp 3, the free image sharpening software, and show you some batch processing and animation for a series of Mars images. So with no further ado, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a series of Mars images. These are the result of stacking and aligning several video captures from a few months ago. So go ahead and open those images. And as soon as I do that, you see this batch tab opens up here. And if I click on the magnifier in waveSharp 3, I'm going to scroll through each of these images so we get a sense of what was the quality of these images, which ones can we use and not use for the animation. So the first one, second one looks okay, third, fourth, fifth, and this fifth one, I'm going to deselect that one. I don't like the look of that one. And yeah, the one below it looks a bit kind of smudgy to me. Next one, yeah, it's passable for the purpose of this demo. This one, let's deselect that. And same for the last one. So we don't have that many frames to play around with. But anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the processing tab, and we're going to do some sharpening and RGB adjustments. And I've gone through these steps in other videos on the channel, so definitely encourage you to take a look at those. So I'm going to select LRGB as the convolution style. I'm going to do chroma-denoise. I'm going to then do some sharpening. So I'm going to move this slider, let's say, to around 140, the one below it to about 70, and then this one below that to around half of that again. That's sort of my typical workflow. And then in waveSharp 3, we have this capability, the estimate filter. So it does a sharpen filter estimate, which is a nice starting point and maybe takes away some of the guesswork that you may have to deal with when you're trying to sharpen your images. And again, it's not necessarily the be all and end all number here, this value that's been inputted. But anyway, again, it's a starting point. The next thing I'm going to do is straight after this sharpen, I'm going to go into the denoise. And this post or layer setting here, if I check off that, this is a setting we use straight after we've done a sharpening stage in the processing. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to go into the RGB. Let's play around with some of the colors in the Mars image. So I'm going to select ROI here, auto threshold, and then I'm going to move these sliders around a little bit. And again, I've covered this in other videos in more detail, the whys and hows of doing these things. So I brought some color into Mars a little bit. Let's minimize that. And then I guess the next thing we want to look at is, if you notice, there's a little bit of a haze around the planet. So I'm going to go into the toolbox here, or this little army knife here, and I'm going to do a couple of things. Make it active. There's an additional deconvolve setting here, and it allows us to do some additional sharpening. I'm just going to increase that, not too much. Again, I encourage you to play around with this for yourself as well. But right below it is a dehaze setting. And if I check on that, you can see straight away that kind of haze around the planet has disappeared a little bit. And you can set this value here, 100% or 1 will go to the original setting. So I'm just going to take it up to about here. See that the haze starts to reappear again. Let's leave it to about there. So that's that setting done. So we've done sharpening, color setting, denoise. Now let's go back to the batch mode here, and let's scroll up to the top, and let's look at the impact on each of those frames. Look at that. All the work we did on that one frame has actually been impacted on all the others. We've done the same processing on all the others. If I scroll down here, you can see. So we've got some nice frames to play around with. One thing I like to do is in the file actions, you can actually rotate these frames. So I'm going to rotate it so that the polar ice cap is kind of oriented in a view that we might see from at least in the northern hemisphere. So let's put a rotation value here of around 60. Turn that, you see that's rotate a little bit. And again, if I go into batch mode, that's impacted on all of the images. So the next thing I want to do is I want to now go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click on the animation tab here. I'm going to set a reference frame. So set this one here, looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to align and rotate around that reference frame, as well as balance the brightness around it. And the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to create my animated file. So in this case, I'm going to create a GIF. I'm going to set it as 1 frame per second because I don't have that many frames to play around with. And then I'm going to click on generate frames. And so what waveSharp 3 is now doing in the background is it's doing some alignment of those frames and then creating the animated GIF file. So now what I can do after that animation is created, I can go in and take a look at the animated GIF. So here we have it here. Let's go in and open that GIF file. I'm just going to open it up in Chrome. And you can see, look at that. You've got a nice animation of Mars. It's not super smooth because, again, I didn't have that many frames to play around with. But I think you get the idea of what you can do with waveSharp 3. All of those processing steps, the nice sharpen filter, rotation, those kinds of things. So definitely encourage you. Subscribe to this channel if you get a chance. And then look out for more videos that we're putting together on waveSharp 3. Thank you.